Alright, so hello everyone and welcome to Tech with Luther. Today we will learn about setting up a virtual environment for your Python projects. Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to give you some background. So in the real world, a Python project may require a different set of dependencies, right? So when we talk about dependencies, we're talking about your packages, your libraries, your frameworks that are essential for your projects to run properly. So imagine you're working on two Python projects, right? So let's say the first project talks about data science. So it may have dependencies such as, pandas, could be NumPy, could be Seaborn, could be scikit-learn. And let's say the second project concerns about health interoperability. So we're talking about system integrations. So it may have dependencies such as, file resources, could be Django REST framework, could be Fast API, and so on and so forth. Now, without a dedicated environment for each project, all of these dependencies will be installed under one roof, and that is your global environment. So what do we really mean by the global environment? So when you install Python on your computer, it creates its own global environment. So by default, this environment is used by your operating system whenever you call Python on your terminal. And let me show that to you. So as you can see on the screen, on the left hand side, we open up the PowerShell, and on the right hand side, we open up the File Explorer. We'll make use of the File Explorer for you to easily visualize what are the folders, directories, or files that we've created in this virtual environment. All right, so when I type down py here, I'm calling out the Python interpreter, right? And currently it's running under its global environment. So in this global environment, if I wanted to list down the dependencies that I'm using currently that's currently installed in my global environment, I could just make use of the pip list right here. So these are the packages that are available on my global environment. Now, in our previous scenario, I told you that we have. Let's imagine we have two projects, right? One is for data science and the other one's for health interoperability. So if you don't have any dedicated environment for those projects, all of those dependencies for each of the project will fall under this list right here, right? And there are many shortcomings when you use the global environment. So for instance, you cannot have two different versions of the same package or library or frameworks at the same time. So let's take this for example. Let's say on your first project, you need the Django version 4.2, but on the second project, you need to install a version 5.2. So 4.2 versus 5.2. You cannot have the same version or have different version of the same package or library at the same time. You need to uninstall first the 4.2, and then afterwards, then that's the time that you can install the version 5.2. So again, you can only keep one version, they cannot coexist. So another downfall of this approach is that your list of dependencies is cluttered, right? I've mentioned that all of these dependencies coming from different projects will be on the same place, right? So for example, if you are working on your data science project, of course you don't need any packages that involve health interoperability, right? So, and that's the problem with global environment. Now, a solution is to have a local environment, right? And what is local environment? It is an isolated Python environment for maintaining package dependencies. So the best practice is that you need to set up your local environment for each of the Python project that you have. So there are two types of local environment according to Microsoft, but in my perspective, the local environment is just a virtual environment. But anyway, let's split it. So the two types of local environments, first one we have the virtual environment, and the second one is the conda environment. So when we talk about conda environment, this is the Python environment that manages using the conda package manager. You will hear about conda when you deal about data science project, but we will not use it for this video. In this video. So let's talk about the virtual environment. So the virtual environment is a Python built-in way to create a local environment, right? So this is the one that we will focus on as it is already part of the Python ecosystem by default. And I will tell you that there are a bunch of packages out there that you can make use of to create your virtual environment. Again, for me personally, all of these things, it just boils down to one roof, that you need to have a local environment. And for me, it's just a virtual environment, personal preference in terms of terminology. Anyway, so to create a virtual environment, we will make use of the venv, or the virtual environment. It's a module included in the Python standard library. I'd like to use it because I don't need to install other applications, and it's already built into Python. So I'm removing the complexities in my project. Anyway, so let's create a virtual environment. So let's create a virtual environment in a PowerShell. So how do you do that? So the first things that you need to do is you need to go to the directory, to the path that that you will use for your project, right? For me, I'd like to create an electronic health record. That's the EHR, and the gen here is like that. This EHR has the generative AI capability. It's just a dummy project anyway. So let's say, okay, so let's go to creating a virtual environment. So type down pi -m and then venv. We're calling that module to create a virtual environment, followed by the name of your virtual environment, right? And if I press enter here, okay. All right, so a couple of things to take note of. So the command created a folder named gen underscore ehr underscore venv. So within this folder, there are two important directories. So let me just open up here. So you have your lib directory, which I think this talks about the library. It's a short term for library. And then the next folder is the scripts. So the lib folder has a subdirectory, which is the site packages. Okay, so let's go to that. And in this subdirectory, you will see all the packages, dependencies that you've installed on your project. For your project. So by default, the first package that you have there is actually pip, right? PIP. So pip stands for pip install packages. So again, every time you create a virtual environment, the default, there's a default package there, which we call pip, and we will use this pip to install other packages, right? So it's a package to install other packages. So much of that. Let's move on to the scripts. So the scripts directory right here, it has all the executable files for your Python projects. So that means that if you want to run a command on your terminal, your computer will use this directory to search for the appropriate executable file. So let's say if you wanted to activate the virtual environment, the executable file is right here. If you want to deactivate it, it's right here. If you want to call out on the pip command on your terminal, you can also, it will also call out on this folder. All right, so let's create now the let's activate now the virtual environment, right? To activate it, we need to call out this executable file right here. All right, so let's do that. So let's go to gen underscore ehr venv, and then go to the scripts folder, and then open up the activate ps1 right there. All right, so what happened here was we just actually call out this file, the activate Windows PowerShell script, because we're using the PowerShell. But if you're using the command prompt, what you will do is that you will change the activate.ps1 here and call out the activate.bat file here, which is your Windows batch file, right? The second thing that you've noticed is that the name of the virtual environment appears now on the left-hand side of the prompt, right? So it means that we have already activated the virtual environment. Okay, so take note that before installing any dependencies for your Python projects, you make sure that your virtual environment is active. If not, then you are installing them on your global environment, which we don't want it to happen, right? So if we want to, well, let's just list down the dependencies first. All right, so as you can see here, again, the only package that we have is pip under the local environment, this virtual environment right here. But under the global environment, as you can tell, there's 4 packages, which again, the global environment is separate from your local environment, as you can see here on the screen. All right, so now let's move on to how do we install the packages, right? So we need to make use of the pip command and then try to type down install, and then let's say we will install Django just for demonstration purposes. Please take note that your dependency actually has other dependencies, right? So Django needs other dependencies for it to work too. Okay, so what happened here was we've been able to install Django. So we can type down pip list here, and as you can tell, we have the AS here and other parts here and other dependencies here. All right, and you've also seen here the Django admin. That's a command that you can run on your command prompt. And again, this scripts directory is where your operators will look for if you've typed down a certain command. Yeah, so there you go. All right, so how do we deactivate this virtual environment? With that, you just need to type down deactivate, right? If you type down deactivate, again, it will look for the executable file under the scripts directory, which is basically this file right here, right? So if I'm gonna deactivate it, there you go. All right, so as you can tell here, our virtual environment is not anymore active because we don't have the virtual environment name on the left-hand side of the prompt. And if I type down pip list here, maybe this one, pip list there, Django, you cannot find Django anymore here because we are looking at the dependencies under the global environment and not anymore on your local environment, right? Now, the last step that I wanted to show you is that how do we connect our virtual environment with our Visual Studio Code, right? So let's open up our Visual Studio Code right here. All right, so as you can see here, we have not yet activated the virtual environment, right? And this is exactly the same copy of the terminal that we've used earlier on, right? So since this is our first time to use Visual Studio Code for our Python project, we will need to install the Python extension. So let's go to the extension right here and type down Python, and we will try to install it. All right, so while it is installing, let me just create a file. Let's say it's testpy right here. There you go. And so now that the Python extension was is already installed, what happened here was the Visual Studio Code read on our current directory, and if it sees a virtual environment, it will run it automatically. That's what happened here. So I didn't activate the virtual environment, but our Visual Studio Code automatically picks it up for us. All right, I think that's it for this video. I hope you learned something new about virtual environments. And if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. And if there's a topic you'd love to see covered, please drop a comment down below and let's build this learning community together.